Very good afternoon, dear students. In today's class, we will start our new topic, that is Laplace transform. This topic is very important from circuit analysis point of view because this Laplace transform will help us in a great deal to solve our circuit and arrive at conclusion. So we have already seen in our transient response analysis that solving circuits in time domain using differential equation and exponential response equation was not that easy task. So we had to address time domain things as well as circuit analysis theorems to find solution to our numericals. Whereas we will see in the coming classes that by the use of Laplace transform, our things are highly simplified. So by using Laplace transform, our circuit will become like a simple Ohm's law kind of circuit where we can directly apply KCL, KVL and other theorems without worrying about whether we have inductor or whether we have capacitor in our circuit, which are the main source behind the time varying nature response of our circuit. So this topic is very important. I think maybe some of you have already studied Laplace transform in your mathematics subject. So here our prime focus will be the application of Laplace transform for circuit analysis, and we will do a bit small derivations also related to properties of Laplace transform, but uh, the prime objective is the application, not the derivation of the properties of Laplace transform. So with this background, we start our today's class, and these are the books that we are following for coverage of this topic. So dear students, here is the Laplace transform. So Laplace transform, okay dear students. So as I told you, Laplace transform is a very powerful tool for circuit analysis, and it gives us very fast procedure and easily mechanized procedure to solve our circuits, whether our circuit include your inductor, capacitor, resistance, it doesn't matter. Okay. So another important thing related to Laplace transform that we need to understand is that this transform means change. So Laplace transform changes our circuit response from time domain to frequency domain. This is very important point that you need to appreciate. Uh, you must have studied Fourier transform also in your mathematics, and in signal and system subject also you must be studying presently the concepts of Fourier transform. And the definition of Fourier series as well as Fourier transform is this thing only, that we are able to convert time domain signal into frequency domain signal with the help of Fourier transform. And if you go into much detail, then you will find the correlation between Laplace transform and Fourier transform as well. But that's not the point of discussion here. Just for knowledge, I am telling you this thing, that there is a correlation between your Laplace transform and Fourier transform. Okay. So the main objective is to transform from time domain to frequency domain. And why we are doing that, or why there is need to convert from time domain to frequency domain, there are many reasons after that. One reason we have already deliberated in the slide, that when we analyze things in frequency domain, we get a comparatively faster approach to solve our you can say computation or our circuit. That is one thing. Second thing is, practically whenever we implement any circuit, or whenever we like to see the response of any circuit, we are very much habitual of visualizing things in frequency domain. So students, your electric circuits, when they have practical application, like whatever your electronic gadgets are there, be it your mobile phone, be it some filter, or be it some you can say your television, all these things, whenever we look into the analysis of circuit of these gadgets, we need to analyze the response of this circuit with respect to frequency. Okay, we need to see that how these circuits will behave with regard to different frequencies. So that's why we require our circuit response in terms of frequency. So that is another way. And dealing things in time domain is very, very complex as compared to your frequency domain. That's why we use frequency domain approach as compared to your time domain approach. And since your first year in mathematics and till your final year when you pass out, you will keep on facing your transforms in every subject, be it your Fourier transform, be it your Laplace transform, Fourier series. So concept will be more or less same, that you will require to transform from time domain to frequency domain using those transform approach. Okay, so let us discuss the definition of Laplace transform. As I told you, we will not go into much mathematical detail. I'll try to focus upon the application part of Laplace transform for the electric circuits. Okay, so students, first you look at the left hand side of the slide where I have written two-sided Laplace transform. Two-sided Laplace transform means when we define Laplace transform, the original definition of Fourier transform is like this, that ft is the time domain function whose Laplace transform is to be obtained. Or in other words, ft is the function, time domain function, which is to be converted to frequency domain. Okay, so we have to convert ft into frequency domain, and the corresponding frequency domain counterpart will be fs. So you can say that we are transforming ft to fs. So t is your time domain. You must be surprised by looking at s, because on the one hand side we are talking about frequency domain, and instead of writing f here we are writing s. So students, right now you assume that in fact you basically agree to this thing that s is a complex frequency variable. Okay, so s is a complex frequency, whereas your f is your real frequency. So that way we are transforming from t domain to s domain. Wherever you come across s, it means that you are using Laplace transform. Okay, so according to this definition, if we need to find out Laplace transform, ft is the function, we will multiply it with e raised to power minus st. Okay, e raised to power minus st, and then dt, and we will integrate it from minus infinity to infinity. So since we are taking all possible values on the two sides of zero, that is minus infinity and other extreme is infinity, that's why we are calling it as two-sided Laplace transform. So this is the original, you can say, transforming equation of your Laplace transform. Now on the slide we have written single-sided Laplace transform. So students, why are we considering single-sided Laplace transform? Single-sided means on one side of zero, and we are considering from zero to infinity. So we have now removed the condition from minus infinity to zero. That's why we are calling it as single-sided Laplace transform. Okay. Now, why are we considering single-sided? The answer is this one: causal function. You must have studied this concept of causal function in your signal and system, and maybe in your mathematics also. Causal function means the function ft which exists for t greater than 0. Okay, means which has a value for t greater than 0, that is known as causal function. Okay, so students, if something exists for t less than 0, basically practically negative time does not have any significance. Okay, so that's why if some function is existing for t less than 0, we will call it as non-causal. And non-causal things are practically not realizable, because You cannot go in negative time. So practically realizable functions are those functions which exist for t greater than 0, or in other words, practically realizable functions are causal functions. So in case of our circuits, we will consider causal functions only for practical purpose. Maybe for theoretical, we may consider things from minus infinity to 0, but for all practical purposes, your functions will be causal. That's why we are considering single-sided Laplace transform, and this is the definition of transform which will be used at most of the places. So we define Fourier transform as Fs, that is Laplace transform of Ft. We represent Laplace transform like this, L of Ft, that is Laplace transform of Ft, and this is how we have defined, that is Ft e raised to power minus st dt integrated from 0 to infinity, where s is your complex frequency. Okay, so I hope all the things are very clear to you from this slide. Now, so students, if you look at this one-sided Laplace transform equation and even two-sided Laplace transform equation also, we will be able to get the value of Fs only when your integration equation gives you some finite value, okay, or some, you can say, converged value. So if your integration will converge, only then you will be able to get Fs. Whether your integration will converge or not, that will depend on Ft. Okay, so there is a condition. Before you calculate Laplace transform, you must check a condition whether this condition is fulfilled or not. Okay, as I have shown you in this equation, that integral 0 to infinity modulus of Ft e raised to power minus sigma t dt is less than infinity, means when you integrate from 0 to infinity, your answer must be less than infinity. It should not be infinite. It should not be unrealistic value. Okay, so before you obtain Laplace transform for any function, you must satisfy this condition of existence, or you can say condition of convergence of the output. Okay, now on the one hand side, students, I was telling you that Laplace transform will make our life easier, but on another hand side, I just told you an equation, and that also seems to be a very complex equation. First, to check whether this equation will be satisfied or not, and only then we will be able to find out Laplace transform. So in case of our circuit analysis, or you can say practically doing all the things, we need not test this condition. And the reason behind that is, all the function that we will be practically encountering, okay, they will all be Laplace transformable. So whatever Ft you will be, coming across in your numericals, in your books, in your practical analysis, 99.99% cases will be Laplace transformable. So you need not worry about much whether Laplace transform of the function that is being given to you is Laplace transformable or not. Okay, so that's why this condition satisfaction is not required. Though if you solve a very complex numerical, or if your teacher or your examiner wants to puzzle you, he may give such function that is not Laplace transformable. That is another case. Okay, so if we have converted from time domain to frequency domain using Laplace transform, then there must be some means to come back. If we have some frequency domain function, or you can say Laplace transform function, and we want to come back to time domain, so for that we have inverse Laplace transform. So you must have studied inverse Fourier transform also. Similarly, we have inverse Laplace transform, and this is the definition of inverse Laplace transform that you already know. So e raised to power minus st, it will become e raised to power plus ft. Instead of ft dt, under integration you will have FSDS under integration, and this is nothing but your 1 by 2 pi j because of integral equation it has come. Okay, so here for inverse Laplace transform also you will not require to solve these integrals. We will use certain techniques to find out inverse Laplace transform that will help us in getting the answers without solving these uh, uh, difficult looking integrals. So these are the, you can say, representation. You can show the pair of ft and fs with double arrows like this, which means that ft is Fourier transform to fs, and the inverse sorry, the ft is Laplace transform to fs, and the inverse Laplace of fs is ft. This is one notation. Another is this one, that is Laplace transform of ft gives us fs. Okay, and if you want to represent inverse Laplace exclusively, then you may write ft is equal to L inverse fs. So you can consider this L inverse and L as operator, as you have certain operators defined in your mathematics also. Okay. So, okay, students, here are some of the things that I have already covered in the previous slide, but for your reference, I have mentioned those things again here. First thing is that whenever you will calculate Laplace transform of a function, it will have the property of uniqueness. That is, we will get unique Laplace transform. Okay, and because of this thing, we need not use the complex integration method for calculating inverse transformation. As I showed you in the previous slide, that this was the expression for inverse Laplace transform. We need not use this equation for finding out inverse Laplace transform. Obviously, somebody must have done that in order to arrive at those results. But our prime objective, as I'm emphasizing again and again, is to apply this Laplace transform for circuit analysis. So whatever you can say degree of knowledge of Laplace transform will be required for circuit analysis, that we will cover here. And if you want further deliberation on this Laplace transform, you should refer to your books of mathematics. Okay. So here our approach will be to develop a table of Laplace transforms. Okay. By calculating Laplace transform of simple functions. Okay. So we will, you can say in a way, derive the Laplace transform of simple functions that we normally come across in our circuit analysis, like unit step function we had encountered, impulse function we had encountered, sinusoidal function we had encountered, then ramp function we come across. So we will manually find out the Laplace transform of those function, and we will memorize. And once we memorize, we will directly use those, you can say, Laplace transforms of those functions. Okay. And regarding inverse Laplace transform, we will use a special method or special technique. You must have learned this technique in your mathematics subject, that is your partial fraction method. So by using this partial fraction method, and then by using a lookup table of the simple functions that we have prepared, we will be able to get the inverse transform values, or in a way that we will be able to get the time domain response from complex frequency domain response. Okay. So as I told you, we will now find out the Laplace transforms of simple time domain functions that we will normally come across in our circuit analysis. Okay. And the most common function that we also have faced in our transient analysis is the unit step function. The definition of unit step we have already seen, that our unit step function will be defined for t greater than 0. So this is equal to 1 for t greater than 0. Okay. And for t less than 0, this unit step function is 0. Okay, so it means this unit step function is a causal function which exists for positive time. Okay, so you can see here that we have applied single-sided Laplace transform. So this is Laplace transform of ut. We have applied integral equation from 0 minus to infinity. Okay, e raised power minus st ut dt. Okay, and we know that since integration is from 0 to infinity, so this ut will be 1. So this 1 is vanished here, or you can say merged with e raised power minus st. So our integral becomes simply integration from 0 to infinity of e raised power minus st dt. Okay, and this is a simple integration of your exponentially decaying function. You already know that it will come out to be minus 1 by s e raised by minus st, and we will put the limits from 0 to infinity. Okay, and if you do that, the answer that you will come across is 1 by s. So students, you have to remember that Laplace transform of a unit step function is equal to 1 by s. You memorize that, and derivation also we have seen. Okay, in a way you can also visualize this thing as, like, since ut equal to 1 for t greater than 0. Okay, you could have been given this thing also, that we have to find out Laplace transform of 1. Okay, what will be the Laplace transform of 1? If you apply your single-sided Laplace transform function, it will be nothing but 1 by s. Okay, if you want to find out Laplace transform of a, where a is a constant, okay, so in that case the Laplace transform will be a by s. That's it. So if you have some constant value and you need to find out the Laplace transform of that, you have to simply divide that value by s. Okay, so and where do we correlate this thing? If you remember, in our circuit analysis we had DC current source and DC voltage source. So if you have a DC voltage source having value 5 volt, okay, and if you are using Laplace transform, so this 5 volt voltage source need to be converted to its equivalent Laplace. Okay, so we'll be using 5 by s. This will be the Laplace transform of, you can say, 5. So this is how we will apply the concepts of Laplace transform for our circuit analysis techniques. As I just explained here, that for a constant, the value of your Laplace transform will be that constant divided by s. Now let us move forward. Another important function that we have in our circuit analysis is the impulse function or unit impulse function. I think you have heard of pulse. Pulse means, you can say, it is represented like this, which has some, you can say, narrow width. Okay, sudden change. Okay, and it has a very narrow width. You must have heard of the term spike. So you can call spike also as a pulse, that it increases suddenly and comes down within a very short duration of time. And if the duration of pulse tends to 0, means this width tends to 0, it becomes impulse. Means it will be a simple straight line at that particular instance. Okay, and this is how we define an impulse, that is delta t minus t naught equals to 0 at t naught equal to t naught. Like if we are defining an impulse at t naught, okay, then it will have value uh, at t naught, and all other values except t naught, that will be 0. Okay, and except you can say at t naught it will be 0, and at t naught what will happen? At t naught it is having value 1. So you can see here that it is integrated from t naught minus epsilon to t naught plus epsilon. You can say that t naught is at the center. Okay, and here and you can say this gap is equivalent to epsilon. So on both sides of this center t naught, okay, we are integrating from t naught minus epsilon to t naught plus epsilon, and we get 1. indirectly this one only. Okay, so this is the definition of impulse, unit impulse. Okay, and this is how we obtain its Laplace transform. So Laplace transform of we call it as delta. Okay, Laplace transform of delta t minus t naught will be equal to single-sided Laplace transform 0 to infinity e raised by minus st delta t minus t naught dt, this one. Okay, and see here that since delta t minus t naught is equal to 1 at t naught it is 1. Okay, so if you solve the integration from 0 to infinity, it is 0 except at t naught. That's why you have got the value at t naught only, because it is a single value. So you get e raised power minus st naught. Okay, so this is the Fourier transform of del t minus t naught, that is equal to e raised power minus st naught. Now you could have defined impulse at t equal to t naught equal to 0 also. This is 0, you can say. Okay, here this impulse is at t naught, this impulse is at t equal to 0. If you do that, sorry, t naught equal to 0, if you do that, this t naught will be 0, and if you have t naught 0, e raised power 0 will be 1. So in simpler sense, I can say that the Fourier transform of impulse is 1. Okay, both things are one and the same thing, only time shifting is there. So I hope all of you have understood this thing. Okay, so these are very important functions to understand the concept of your Laplace transform. Okay, dear students, after looking into the Laplace transform of unit step function and uh, your impulse function, we now move to Laplace transform of exponential function and ramp function. So we have already seen exponential function in our time domain analysis. That's why we must be aware of its Laplace transform. So the Laplace transform of e raised power minus alpha t, which is nothing but exponentially decaying function, and we are multiplying it with ut. Multiplying with ut has a significance in a way that your exponential decaying function is like this. It is like this, means it is starting or it is existing for t greater than 0. So if you multiply it with ut, it gives response like this. Okay, so as soon as ut is there, you can directly assume that integration will be from 0 to infinity. So you can see here that there is no ut here. We have removed ut because we have taken into consideration that ut in the limits of integration. And with those limits of integration, the unit step function is 1. Okay, so that's why ut has not been shown here. We have put ft is equal to e raised power minus alpha t, and this e raised power minus st dt is nothing but part of the definition of your Laplace transform. Okay. Okay, dear students, so for exponential function, if you find out Laplace transform for that, it will be e raised power minus alpha t e raised power minus st dt. Okay, so since if you solve this, it will be e raised to power minus s plus alpha t, and integration will be like this, and the power of exponent will come in the denominator after integration, that is 1 by s plus alpha, and minus sign will come like this, and we'll apply the limits of integration from 0 to infinity. Okay, and this will be the answer, that is 1 upon s plus alpha. Okay, so if we have if we need to find out the Fourier transform of Laplace transform of e raised by minus alpha t, the answer will be 1 upon s plus alpha. Okay, and this is also correlated with your unit step function. Fine, so here also this if you put alpha equal to 0, e raised power 0 will be 1, alpha will be 0, means the Fourier transform Laplace transform of ut is 1 by s. Okay, so this is what we get for Laplace transform of exponential function. And then Next is your ramp function. Ramp function is, you must have studied such kind of function, like it should be a straight line. Okay, so your ramp looks like this. Okay, so it is defined like this: t times ut. The significance of ut is again the same I told you, that it means it is existing for t greater than 0. Fine. So Laplace transform of t ut is integration from 0 to infinity t e raised to minus st dt. Okay, ut has been removed because it has been already taken into account in the limits of integration. And since there are two functions of time, you know how to solve this. You'll be using integration by parts, and you'll be substituting the value of limits of integration, and you will get this answer, that is 1 by s square. Okay, so this is what we get, that Laplace transform of tut is 1 by s square. Is that fine? So like in a way you can say that if we assume that Laplace transform of ramp function, that is this t, and you multiply it with some constant, say a. If you want to find out Laplace transform of at, so a will remain as it is, it will become a by s square. A by s square. And this expression can also be generalized. We will see later on that if you want to find out the Laplace transform of a t raised power n, in that case this expression will be generalized. So if you have t raised to power 1, you got s square. Similarly, if you have t raised to power n, you will get s raised to power n plus 1. Okay, so I hope all of you have understood this thing. Okay, so after finding out the Laplace transform of simple time functions, now we discuss the properties of Laplace transform. So students, we must study the properties of Laplace transform. Properties of Laplace transforms are also another way to use Laplace transform in a simpler fashion. So if you learn about the properties, or you can say theorems of Laplace transform, these properties or theorems can be directly applied to the questions for which you have to find out Laplace transform, and our task becomes easier. Okay, so that's why the use of properties is very, very important uh, for circuit analysis point of view. Okay, so today in this class we will not discuss in detail the properties. We'll discuss properties in the next class. I'll just show you the properties of Laplace transform that you have to look into. Okay, and then in the next class we will discuss in detail. In the meantime, I'll advise you all to revise the properties beforehand, so that we can understand these things in a better way. One property is linearity, another is frequency shifting, next is your time shifting, then next is your differentiation in time, next property is your integration in time, next is your initial value theorem and final value theorem. So these things all of you have to study before tomorrow's class, so that we will be able to do things in a better fashion. Okay, so today I pause here, and we will continue in the next class.